Hey you guys, it's Bethly here, and this is the 5th part of my X-Men in the MCU Fancast video. I can't believe we're finally here. First off, I want to thank you guys so much for over 1,000 views on the first part of the series. Thank you for watching it. Can't believe we finally got there. And also thank you guys for 35k on both of the trailers I put out. I'm so grateful, and if you haven't gotten a chance to watch either of those trailers, they're on the channel and on the playlist. I've been having a hard time deciding which characters I should do next and which videos. So this video is going to be on some of the villains in the extended Summers family. So let's start off with Mystique. This is a character that I love in the 90s cartoon, the comics, especially the recent ones, in the first run of X-Men movies. However, when the Jennifer Lawrence actress took over, they made the character into a hero instead of a villain, and I wasn't a big fan of that change. I hope in the MCU we can keep her as a villain or change the character in a way that feels more earned and organic. First up, I wanted to mention Zoe Ashton. She was cast to be in the Marvels, but as of this recording, we still don't know as who. The rumor has it that she'll be the main villain, and she's probably playing a Kree or a Skrull. And I do think it would be interesting if they cast her as Mystique and introduced her in that movie first. I don't necessarily believe that that'll be the case, but I do think that she would be a wonderful option. My first official option is Naomi Scott. She played Jasmine in Aladdin, so she's already worked with Disney. She's 29 and 5'6". She has a really striking face, and I feel like she would shine through the makeup, which is something that I took into account with picking my actresses. I've also been a fan of hers since Lemonade Mouth on Disney Channel. I think that she would be great, and I would like to see her be in more things and have a chance to shine. Next is Golshifty Farahani from Extraction. When that movie first came out and I watched a review from Beyond the trailer, Grace Randolph said that she would make a great Mystique, and I haven't been able to unsee her as the character since. And we can see from that movie that she has the physicality for the role. She is 38 and 5'7", and like I said, she really impressed me in Extraction, and I think that she would be a great option and looks great for it. Then there's Natalie Dormer, who's been a fan cast for a very long time. She had a very small role in the first Captain America movie, but it's been so long and it's such a small role that I don't think that it would be a problem. She's 40 and 5'6". She was also in Game of Thrones and Hunger Games, where I mostly saw her in. She's more of a typical casting choice for this kind of a role, but she could work, and she does look the most like my Nightcrawler choice, which was Fionn Whitehead. Mystique is a shapeshifter, so resemblance to him doesn't really affect the character much, but I do think Natalie Dormer would be a great choice. Another choice that I really liked was Simone Ashley from the second season of Bridgerton. She's 27 and 5'10". She really blew me away in Bridgerton, and I think that she could bring so much to the role. She's also stunning with her bone structure. I think that it would really come through. And the makeup, similar to Fionn Whitehead. She's the youngest pick that I have on the list for Mystique. Age doesn't really matter for this kind of a character, since she's kind of ageless due to her being able to shapeshift. And her performance in Bridgerton and in Sex Education made me feel like she's a viable choice for such a role. And like I said, I think she looks great for it. And then for my final choice, I chose Sofia Boutella from The Mummy. I wanted to choose an actress that I thought could shine through the makeup, has experience with action and prosthetics, and she's a very striking actress. She was also in Atomic Blonde and Star Trek Beyond. She's 40 and 5'5". She has been the definitive pick for me for a very long time. I think she looks perfect. I think she has the acting chops for it. I had the most choices for Mystique out of everybody, but I always knew that it was going to be her. I could also see her being a mother figure to Nightcrawler, Fionn Whitehead, and my Rogue. choice, Ella Balinska, especially Ella. I think her and Ella would connect the most and would have great on-screen chemistry. Her experience with prosthetics from Star Trek Beyond makes me feel like she wouldn't have as much of a problem with the makeup as Jennifer Lawrence did. And I would also expect, Mystique to be clothed. That was a choice that they made in the X-Men movies that I didn't quite understand. But anyway, my final choice for Mystique in the MCU is Sofia Boutella. Now we'll move on to the Summers family. If you've watched my other videos, then you know that Jean and Scott are my favorites and I love them together. So I would want the MCU to bring their children into later stories. I'm assuming the kids would be time displaced, so I played around with the ages a little bit. And we're going to start off with Rachel Summers. This is a character that's grown on me a lot, and I feel like I've learned a lot more about her through fan fictions than through the actual comics. One option that I have is Amy Beth McNulty from Anne with an E, and she has a brief appearance in Stranger Things Season 4. She's 20 and 5'4". Rachel is a character that has a lot of spunk, and I thought that she would be more rebellious than the rest of the family besides the older version of Cable. And I think that she could bring that energy to the character. Then I have Madeline Petch from Riverdale. She's 27 and 5'5". She is the famous natural redhead from this generation, so I felt like it would be wrong not to include her. In Riverdale, she is spunky and charismatic, and she's a part of the LGBTQ community. I really enjoy her performance, and while she brings too much grit to a character like Jean, so I didn't have her on my list for Jean, I do think that she would fit for someone like Rachel Summers. The only downside is that she plays a lot of mean girl type characters, and that is typecasting, but it's something I haven't really been able to get past. In my opinion, Rachel is more blunt and alternative, but not necessarily mean, even though her character Cheryl has grown out of that. Most of the characters I have seen Madeline play are mean. That's not the vibe that Rachel gives me, and she is a bit older, and I would like a bit of a younger actress, but let me know what your opinions are. Now moving on to my top two, we have Sierra McCormick. She's 24 and 5'2". She's from American Horror Story and Ant Farm on Disney Channel. This pick is mostly cosmetic, but I did love Ant Farm as a kid, and let me know what you thought of her performance in American Horror Story if you've seen it. I remember as a kid that her character was very sweet and funny, but recently she debuted this awesome new look, and it shows more of her edgy side, and I think that's something that really fits in with Rachel. Though I think that she would be a great option for it. Finally, my final pick for Rachel Ann Summers in the MCU is Sophia Lillis. This is the obvious choice and the one that most people give, but I do think that she would be the best fit for the role. I loved her in the It movies. However, she did have a Netflix show called I'm Not Okay With This, where I did think her performance was off. I think she had to play a character that was very different from her, and she may have struggled with that, but she's a younger actress. She's 20, and she's 5 foot. Her height is a bit concerning for me, being that Abby Cohen, my Jean Grey, is 5'7", and Jacob Elordi, my Scott Summers, is 6'5". So having such a short daughter may be a little weird, but they could do camera tricks to make it look different. And on a positive, I do legitimately think that she looks like she could be their kid. Like, she looks like a good mix of them. So again, my final choice for Rachel Ann Summers, aka Prestige, in the MCU is Sophia Lillis. Next up is another Summers clan child, Hope Summers. So I know that in the comics she's the adoptive daughter of Cable, and she has no blood relation to the family at all. However, we all know that Kevin Feige likes to keep things simple, so I've decided to just go with Hope being the third child of Jean and Scott. Her and Cable can still be really close, but this time it'll be as siblings. Anyway, my first option for Hope is Bailey Madison. She's 22 and 5'6". She was in The Strangers and The Fosters. She was one of my favorite actresses as a kid, and she is still working today. Like I said, I think that Hope is a lot sweeter than Rachel, and I definitely think that Bailey can play that. When I think of family dynamics, I think Hope is the one that feels overshadowed by her siblings and her parents' legacy. but when things go wrong, she's the first one to try to fix it. The downside to having Bailey be is that she doesn't look as much like the actresses and actors that are going to be playing Jean and Scott. So that's something that we could try to fix. And moving on, my next option is Echo Campbell. She's worked with Abby before in a movie called Witch Hunt as her younger sister. So you already have a working relationship, and I do think they look alike. The downside here is that Echo hasn't really acted much outside of that movie. She is 14 and she's 5'2", so she's definitely the youngest on the list. But I do think that she would be a great choice if they did want to go with that. And then one of my other picks is Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. She's 20 and 5'3". I love Max in that show. And that character has a lot more grit than I would expect Hope to. But Sadie doesn't fit Rachel, and I wanted to include her on this list. And I do think that she could bring a softness to her performance and kind of like tie in the family. And I do think that her and Abby look alike. They don't look exactly alike. So there is room there for you to be like, oh, I see where Jacob fits into this too. Now on to my final choice for Hope Summers, which is Danielle Rose Russell from Legacies and the movie Wonder, where she was also in a show where she played a character named Hope Michelson on Legacies. She was definitely my favorite character on that show, and I adore her. Also, her and Abby literally look so much alike. I saw a picture of Abby, and I thought that was Danielle with red hair for a second. She also does look like she could be Jacob and Abby's kid, which is something that I considered when deciding who I would want. So yeah, my final choice is Danielle Rose Russell for Hope Summers in the MCU. Next, we have another fan favorite character, which is Cable. There are typically two versions of Cable in the comics, the old version of Cable and Kid Cable. I prefer Kid Cable, so that's the character that I am mostly casting for. I also have some options for, I guess, middle-aged Cable. Honestly, I was looking for actors that I thought favored Jacob Elordi, so that's what my two first options for Cable are. First up, we have Stephen McQueen from The Vampire Diaries. He played a character named Jeremy. He's 33 and he's 6 foot. His character, Jeremy, was a hunter and a bit tough, so I could see him in a role where he had to play Cable. But I mostly picked him because he looks like Jacob. But I did like his character a lot in The Vampire Diaries. Then we have Bo Murkoff. He's 33 and 6'1". He was in Awkward and in Good Trouble. I loved him in Good Trouble. He also looks like Jacob and is physically fit enough for the character. I really liked him in Good Trouble, as I said earlier. And he was also on my potential Colossus list because, he's 6'1", he's very buff. Like, you can see it. He looks like he could be a potential Colossus as well. But I have him for the older version of Cable. And I think that he would be a good option for it. Like, why not give him a shot? And a last minute pick I put on here was Nicholas Galantine from Purple Hearts. He's 28 and 6 foot. I was just thinking about him in that movie, and I added him to the list last minute. I thought he would look good. So what do you guys think about him potentially being Cable or even like Vulcan later on in this list? I think it's a potential option that we could go with. Next up is Maxwell Jenkins, the kid from Lost in Space. I was very impressed with his performance, and I thought that he would make a good Kid Cable, especially because of his acting abilities in that show and the screen presence that he had. When I watched that show, I felt like I was seeing him grow up season to season, and that's another thing they can do with Kid Cable, especially because we get to see Jean and Scott have a chance to raise him, because they don't really get a chance to do that in the comics. There was a recent Cable run that I really liked. I think it was last year or the year 2020, and it was great, and I would like to see that version of Kid Cable, and I think that he would be a great choice for that. I had a lot of people on the kid cable list too, so I wanted to put in a special mention for Louis Patras from Enola Holmes because I think that he looks a lot like Jacob, and I think that he could be a good potential choice for a younger kid cable. And then the other special mention I had was Harry Collette, who played Jace in House of the Dragon. I just saw this picture of him and I realized that he looks a lot like Jacob, and I also think that he did a great job in House of the Dragon, so it would be nice to see him in something else, maybe as kid cable potentially. Finally, for cable, we have my choice, which is Colin Ford. He already has a relationship with Marvel, and that he was cast in Captain Marvel, but that didn't really work out. His scene got cut or something. They may have plans to continue with him being in the Marvels, but I kind of doubt it, and we'll see about that. I do think that he would be a great choice for kid cable or a teenage cable, especially with my Hope and Rachel choices. They're all a bit younger in their 20s. Oh yeah, Colin Ford for cable in the MCU. Now we're moving on to Vulcan. He's a lesser known character, but he is important to comic book fans. He's the third Summers brother through weird comic retcons, and I want to include him in this video because he is a part of the Summers clan, and I do think that he is an interesting character. And this time I'm going to start with a special mention. This is Julio Pena, who I thought looked like Jacob, and I thought, why not include him on this list for Vulcan? He looks like he could bring the intensity that you need from this character because he's the Summers brother with the most oomph to him. He's the most angry. He has the most to prove, and I do think that someone like Julio could bring that out and show us that side of him. He could also be a good choice for a potential older version of Cable or Colossus. I kind of wanted to pick actors that look like Jacob but also look like Vulcan, and I think that he looks like him a lot in this picture. Moving on, we have Gavin Leatherhead. He's from the Sabrina reboot that was on Netflix, and I love that show so much, and I want that cast to be in everything, so they keep showing up on my list. He's 28 and 5'8", and this is a little bit of a problem because it's supposed to be like the youngest brother, but he is older than Jacob. I think that he could just play younger, and it would be fine. He's also 5'8", and Jacob is 6'5", so there would be a big, height difference between the brothers. But I think that would be fine, and that it won't be that noticeable. My final choice for Vulcan in the MCU is Wolfgang Novogratz from the Netflix movie The Last Summer. Sierra Burgess is a loser, and yes, God, yes, he's 25 and 6'3". I do think that he has a resemblance to Jacob and Ross Lynch, and Ross will be playing my Havoc. They could also do the half-sibling storyline or other comic booky shenanigans, but I really liked him in The Last Summer, and he's going to be playing a Summers brother. He played the funny jock type of character. I do imagine Vulcan as being more serious and could be a potential villain that the X-Men have to face at first, but I do think that he could play both sides of the character. He also kind of looks like a superhero. I think he kind of looks like a kid Superman, so he could play one of those characters. Also considered him for Hulkling, but anyway, my final choice for Gabriel Summers, aka Vulcan in the MCU, is Wolfgang Novogratz. The final character that we are fan casting for today, or characters, are the Stepford Cuckoos, or the 3-in-1 as they're also called, and I will refer to them in this video. One thing that I've taken into consideration for this is that I fan casted Sophie Turner as Emma Frost, which I have gone back and forth on, but I picked her. I want to pick an actress that kind of looks like her or gives off a similar energy to her. The first actress that I have for the Stepford Cuckoos is Emily Allen Lind. She is 20 and 5'4". She was in the Gossip Girl reboot on HBO Max that came out recently. Her sister is Natalie Allen Lind, who is in the the Gifted show on Fox that was about the X-Men, so it'd be kind of cool to see Emily come in and take over. Comment down below if you've seen The Gifted or if you like that show, because I really like that show and I would have liked to get another season, especially with the way they left it with Blink at the end. But you know, we're not here to talk about The Gifted. I also think that she has a really cool look, and I think that she kind of favors Sophie Turner, like I was saying. Next up, we have Olivia DeJonge from the Elvis movie. She's 24 and 5'3". I think that she did a great job in that movie, and she brought a lot of personality to it. So I think it would be cool to see her in the MCU as the Stepford Cuckoos, or even as Emma. No, she's like a bit short at 5'3", and like I said, Jacob is 6'5", and that's who he would be opposite in a potential pairing between him and Emma. And I do feel like she fits with the Stepford Cuckoos more. And my second to last choice is Hunter Schafer from Euphoria. She is 23 and 5'10". Absolutely love Jules in Euphoria, and I think that she's an incredible actress. She seems really cool in interviews, so I think it would be cool to see her in the MCU. There is a rumor going around that she's going to be in Agatha Coven of Chaos as a witch, and I think that would be a really cool role for her. But if that doesn't work out and they're still looking to put her into the MCU, I think that she would be an awesome version of the Stepford Cuckoos. She has a really cool look, and she recently cut her hair, or she has a short cut. So yeah, I think that she would be a great choice to be the Stepford Cuckoos. But my final choice for the Stepford Cuckoos would be Meg Donnelly from the zombie movies on Disney Channel and the Winchester's Supernatural spinoff. She's 22 and 5'3". I feel like she's gonna really blow up in the next few years and maybe be similar to the next Zendaya with her track record, where she started off as a Disney star and then became a lot bigger. So I think that'd be really exciting for her to get a role like this. Plus, I do think that she looks like Sophie Turner, who again was my choice for Emma. She's been good in everything that I've seen her in. The zombie movies are on Disney Channel, so they are a bit childish, but it does mean that she already has a connection with the Disney family and could be potentially already in talks with Disney due to the zombies connection and how big of a franchise that has been on Disney Channel. She is starting her own show called The Winchesters, where she's the main character, so I don't know if she would really have the time to become a big part of the X-Men movies, but the Stepford Cuckoos wouldn't really have to have that large of a role. As I was thinking of a storyline where Jean and Scott end up having to help Emma for whatever reason. They help Emma get her kids back. But I think that she would be great, and she is my main choice for the Stepford Cuckoos in the MCU. That's Meg Donnelly as the Stepford Cuckoos, or the 3-in-1 in the MCU. Okay, so now we have 6 more characters that I have fan casted to be in the MCU X-Men movies. I'm really excited for all of them to get cast and for us to see who they're actually going to pick. And obviously a lot of these characters won't show up until a few movies into it. I don't think that they'll be in like the very first movie. But I do have a lot of roles that I think would be really interesting to see in the MCU. And we have the Summers family that I decided to put in this video, that I thought that would be pretty cool. Be sure to tell me if you think that I did a good job casting for family resemblance. We have Sophia Boutella as Mystique in the MCU. Which, like I said, I think that she'll be absolutely great for it. We have Sophia Lillis as Rachel Ann Summers, aka Prestige. I don't know if they're going to go with that name or not, but I think it'll be good. Then we have Danielle Rose Russell as Hope Summers, who I think looks great for the role. She also looks great with her red hair. And we have Colin Ford as Cable, or Kid Cable, or Nathan Summers. And I'm very excited about him. We also have Wolfgang Novogratz as Vulcan, who, like, come on, look at that picture. He looks so much like the character in the comics. And rounding out the video, we have Meg Donnelly as the Stepford Cuckoos. She'll be playing the 3-in-1. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this next part up. I'm a college student. I'm getting towards the end of university. It's been really stressful and busy. And I also just started a new job, though I wish I could have gotten these out sooner, but I have been working on it. If you want to get a better look at the artwork that I've been working on, you can go to my Instagram at x_men_edits and you'll find it there. Side note, I also want to start doing movie reactions when I get more time, because I would love to watch these X-Men movies with you and get your opinion. So if you know how to do that, I would greatly appreciate the help and the advice. Thank you guys for watching my videos and encouraging me to keep going. Stay tuned for part 6 and 7, which will probably be the last ones of my X-Men and the MCU fancasting videos. I want to do the remaining Young Avengers and the Fantastic Four if I can get those done before it's officially announced. I also put out a Jane and Scott video. It's like a trailer music video if you guys want to check that out. And be sure to leave your fan castings and your own theories down below. Also like and subscribe. Thank you for watching again, and thank you guys for 35k on my 2 trailers. I never expected that, so thank you. Bye guys, see you in the next video.